Extraction stations.
Awaiting instructions.
Posizione di un bersaglio strategico. Fighter returning to ship. Союзники поддерживайте огнем по указанной цели.
Enemy battleship sunk.
The ship is on fire. That's defeated. Over Все меня слышат, защищай Torpedoes, dead ahead. Torpedoes, dead ahead. Дело дрянь. Problem solved, sir.
Enemy cruiser sunk.
Our team has taken the lead. Concentrate fire on the designated target. Fighter returning to ship.
We've destroyed an enemy cruiser. ship foundered.
Our victory is in sight.
Battle ends in 5 minutes.